Welcome to the Visual Storyteller. The Visual Storyteller podcast is dedicated to those who visually document the human experience of families from a documentary photographer's perspective. It also covers the concept of community visual journalism, an experiment as a so-called photo department of a county-wide newspaper, which was coined by photojournalist David Hobby. The topics covered will range from documenting families, weddings, birthing and end-of-life documentary photography, as well as documenting everyday people in our local communities. Other topics I will cover include the philosophy of authentic documentary photography in today's digital world, to gear, case studies, interviewing guests, and more. My name is Cliff Etzel. I'm an award-winning photojournalist living in the Pacific Northwest. I specialize in visual storytelling from a humanitarian perspective. The title of this week's podcast is The Panacea of Social Media. I want to discuss this week my opinions around why we as photographers cannot and should not rely upon social media as the main driver of our business. I recently came across a blog posting from a photographer describing his experience around Instagram having deleted his account and he lost everything. What I mean by when he lost everything, he lost 1.5 years of postings on a specific project that he had been working on. Now, to be upfront, it did entail fine art male nudes. He had made sure that the images were about the social commentary on how men view their bodies, not something that was supposed to be erotic. He had created a following over 1.5 years of shooting on the project, and it was exclusively living on the social media platform. Then one day, the powers that be at Instagram deleted his account without any warning for being in violation of its terms of service. Apparently, Instagram is being known to remove numerous accounts as they tighten up on accounts showing any sort of nudity, even nude imagery that has been censored and implied as fine art. It's been my experience as I've been researching this topic that many experts, especially those who claim to be marketing gurus, promote themselves as being knowledgeable about how we as photographers actually need Facebook, Instagram, and other social media websites to be successful and to find more paying clients, and that without them, we aren't going to be successful. I have to disagree with that, and here are some real-world personal examples of why I don't believe that. Instagram is owned by Facebook. Facebook is publicly a traded company. As a result, the primary driver for Facebook is to have ad revenue coming in. I have been told by more than one person who is actually well-versed in marketing and promotion through social media platforms, that there is no guarantee that any money that you spend on either one of those platforms is going to be utilized the way that you feel it should be used when spending your hard-earned money to promote your services. As a result, what they end up doing is taking your money and not meeting a return on investment that we as business people want and need to drive more revenue into our businesses. Consider the fallout from your social media account being canceled and removed. Let's say you spent a great deal of time building a solid following of, say, an example, 10,000 followers. You play the long game organically, creating followers who admire your work and look forward to seeing more of your postings. All of a sudden, without warning, your social media account has been removed. You now no longer have access to those followers. As anyone who works in this creative medium knows, it's those followers that can provide potential conversion into a paying client. So what ends up happening then is your business has become held hostage by a large company who can randomly, at the flip of a switch, remove your potential for an income. That, to me, is a recipe for disaster. So what does it take in order to mitigate that from ever possibly happening? I think it comes back down to getting to the basics of boots-on-the-ground marketing and promotion of our work. That means creating direct email campaigns, making phone calls, actually meeting face-to-face with potential clients, utilizing blogging and search engine optimization on the website that you own. By applying this framework, you end up utilizing the social media platforms to drive your following to your website. In the process, you create an organic following going directly to your website where you can post your content in a way that you actually want it to be displayed and that your following wants to see and learn about. I can personally attest that I have struggled with social media being a viable platform for converting to paying clients. My experience already has shown I have not had a single paying client come from social media. Nada, zilch. I have learned the hard way that I need to market and promote my work via email marketing campaigns, making those phone calls, scheduling those face-to-face meetings, as well as trying to figure out how to blog in a way that is authentic and real, and utilizing that search engine optimization for people looking for the kind of photography services that I offer. All the while trying to formulate the secret sauce for using social media as a secondary conduit to my website. So what are some ideas that you can implement in order to help mitigate the potential of a social media platform drastically affecting your business negatively and help bulletproof your following so that you can protect yourself if such a thing happens? First off, I would say start a mailing list. Use a platform like MailChimp and ask your followers to join your mailing list through your social media presence. Mailing lists are great for promotions and announcements because they are direct. It's a piece of email that everyone will get at the same time in the same way. On social media, your posts may be seen by some people and not others. Conversely, most people check their email at least once a day. Step 2, in my opinion, is make sure you're putting just as much time into your website and your online portfolio as you're putting into your social media presence. As artists, it's crucial that our art, our product, has a place to live that's safe from ever-changing social media platforms and algorithms. Websites can now be put together with little to no technical experience, and they can be so in a way that they're already optimized for search engines. A well-crafted blog post with attention being made on SEO and keyword placement will benefit you and your business vastly, more so than a single social media posting can do. Let your website be the hub of your online presence. Just use social media platforms as tools for marketing with the knowledge that while Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, etc. are powerful engines, we are not guaranteed anything from them. Thirdly, spend time in your community building in-person relationships with relevant people and vendors, and deliver the best customer service experience for your clients. I'm going to be honest, I don't like social media in general, and if I could, I would not use it at all. I've come to see them as having the ability to hold our livelihoods hostage. I honestly think that today's photographers are afraid of falling through the cracks and feeling as though that they are irrelevant in the overall noise of bad to mediocre images being dumped on social media platforms. Many photographers post images that, in my opinion, are not worth looking at. They post just because they can. I personally feel posting less but more meaningful content, especially as a documentary photographer and visual storyteller, creates that organic following. Your tribe wants to see your work. There's this sense for most photographers that live in a sense of desperation and that somehow social media platforms are going to be the quick fix, the short game to all of a sudden becoming successful, without considering that long game is where we actually should be committing ourselves in our marketing and promotion aspects of our business. If it's done right, the payoff is immense, to the point that it will become self-sustaining, but it requires the initial investment of time and energy, both of which we would rather be devoting to our craft. I humbly admit that I am learning this lesson the hard way, as I have been going through this for several years in a row, where I have been hit by a low point in my work as far as my business volume goes each year, and as a result, it's been economically quite uncomfortable. It's been through mentorship and research that has brought me to this place of realizing that unless we truly look at our work and what we do as both a creative expression and as a business, that this medium that I truly love will continue to be diminished to the point of irrelevancy. Many, like myself, don't want to have to deal with the minutia that is maintaining our websites, blogging, making phone calls, writing emails to introduce ourselves out of a fear of rejection. And I'm the first to admit I don't like being rejected. Again, through the course of mentorship and reading, I've come to realize that photographers, myself included, are so emotionally invested in what we do in our creativity that when it isn't recognized or is rejected, that we take it personally. That perceived rejection has nothing to do with our self-worth. As many will attest, art is subjective, and it's that subjectivity that makes art at times controversial. One person can look at a piece of art and say it's the most amazing thing that they've ever seen, while another person will say it's garbage. As it's been said in the adage, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So how do we separate ourselves from the emotional component of our work and go to the more left side of the brain, which is the analytical side? I believe that it has to do with becoming aware and disciplined and realize that we cannot live in a sense of desperation to be seen and to be compensated for our work. That desperation has led to the diminishment of a living wage for many photographers because everyone is so financially desperate and willing to compromise their value in that scarcity mentality. They are willing to cut their prices to a point to where it's not economically feasible for those of us who have done what we've been doing for so long in our business to make a living. There are many out there who feel as though that they can just go and buy equipment, create a Facebook page and Instagram profile, and say that they are open for business. There is much more to being a photographer than just photographing. As I've discovered, I don't get to shoot near as much as I would like because I'm busy running my business and figuring out where the next paying gig is going to come from. That means doing the office administrative aspect of what it means to be in business. It's that constant searching for what is the next best thing. It's trying to figure out who to reach out to as a potential client that you can convert into a paying client. It's the never-ending process of searching to create that core tribe of followers that by word-of-mouth referral, which is the best form of marketing and promotion, will bring more business. Our profession today has accelerated to such a point that everyone has a camera on their cell phone. Everyone has the ability to take a bad to mediocre picture and post them online. The challenge is we haven't educated our potential customers around what good professional photography looks like versus mediocre photography. And it's that part of our business that has become more important because our visual medium has been commodified to such an extent that we have cookie cutter images being created over and over and being passed off as professional. There are certain aspects or certain genres within photography that maybe a cookie cutter formula is acceptable. From the realm of documentary photography, which really does require an aesthetic that has to be seen and believed as authentic and unmanipulated, is one of the things that is really important to be disciplined around. There are many photographers out there who pass themselves off as documentary photographers without ever having actually been in the photojournalism sphere, where we had it drilled into our heads constantly that you do not manipulate what is unfolding in front of you being documented and making sure to not influence or manipulate what's occurring and create a visual story with those images that you acquire. I think that's one of the reasons why I am so drawn now, as well as many others, to the realm of true family documentary photography, wedding documentary photography, birthing documentary photography, and end-of-life documentary photography. It is that authentic, unobtrusive, real human experience that we as visual storytellers are driven to tell. We have to bring that same level of passion and commitment to our craft to running our business as well. Not everyone is cut out to be an actual documentary photographer. I'm the first to admit it's not easy. It takes a special personality, a special mindset that is more than just in the brain. It has to come from a level of compassion, understanding human psychology, and having empathy, creating those images from the heart. And that for me is what drives me every morning when I get out of bed. I love what I do. I don't like having or want to manage my business. And yet I have to if I want to create the success that I have defined for myself. There are those who are mediocre photographers and are really good at running businesses, and they tend to be more successful financially. You also know of the proverbial adage of the starving artist, because they are committed completely to their art, but are terrible business people. I humbly admit, I have been in that latter camp for several years, and I am now at this stage of my career learning what it means to try to become a more effective business person so that I can actually be financially successful without feeling like I'm selling out. That's not to say I've gotten there completely, actually far from it, but at least I have an awareness now of needing to balance my creative side with the business side, and I think that is something that we as visual content creators need to establish in our professional work. For many, it's not easy to be self-employed. It's uncomfortable. There's no sense of security that you can really create with a regular job. It requires having to do those things that we don't want to do. It can seem tenuous. It can seem uncertain. If you can't go to that level, then make photography a hobby. Go do your regular job and do your photography on the side. It's not for everybody to actually be a working photographer. In my case, the photojournalism and documentary photography realm especially has changed drastically over the past 10 to 15 years. Newspapers and magazines have cut their photo staffs or eliminated their whole photo departments completely. The rates being paid are a fraction of what they were in the heyday of photojournalism and magazine photography. Add to that the ever-increasing pool of more and more college students coming out with journalism degrees, specializing in photojournalism, and finding that they've incurred huge financial debt thinking that they were going to find a job on a newspaper, and yet they end up realizing that their dreams are destroyed. It's that thinking outside the box that I'm going to be touching on in a future podcast around what it means to create a printed book or a magazine. How to take the concept of something like National Geographic and become a micro-publisher, What does it look like to self-publish along the lines of the gold standard of National Geographic or Life magazine is one of the things I'm investigating myself. I honestly believe there is a real potential for creating one revenue stream out of many for those of us in the documentary photography and photojournalism sphere. I look forward to hearing your comments on this subject, and as always, anything else that you might want to hear in a future podcast. If you're interested in having a family documentary photography session, either full day or half day, or you're looking to have your wedding shot as a documentary project, please feel free to reach out to me. You can visit my website at www.cliffetzel, that's C-L-I-F-F as in Foxtrot, E as in Edward, T as in Thomas, Z as in Zebra, E-L.com. Again, that's cliffetzel.com. Or you can reach out to me via email at cliff@cliffetzel.com. Until next time, keep your work real, keep it authentic and heart-centered. This is Cliff Etzel for The Visual Storyteller.